Hey, it's James, Father's Rights and Resources, hashtag how I got custody. I just saw a video on my feed. Elon Musk was saying how they can't just pick apart things going on in certain agencies. Some agencies they got to get rid of entirely. I totally agree. Ron Paul, when he was running, Rand Paul's father, in the early 2000s, he was talking about 90% of government needs to go. It's all wasteful. So we've been knowing that. But two departments they could easily get rid of and have no concern or repercussions as far as harming the American people is Division of Child Support and CPS. So Division of Child Support, we already kind of know. You see guys like that child support is fraud guy and other dudes trying to, encourage people to challenge a judge because there's not really judges. So those guys are right when it comes to that stuff. They're so stupid, they don't tell you, hey, this only works for administrative hearings, just so you know. They make everybody think it works in Superior and District Court on top of Division of Child Support. But Division of Child Support can go. They got all kinds of unconstitutional due process violating things. They'll mail something to you and you don't answer because you moved or you're on vacation, and they'll get a default against you, garnish your wages, an entire network, that's literally an entire, they talk about, Trump talks about draining the swamp. There's literally a swamp, or it's more like a spider web of a network, just like think about like the internet, how it's all tied and it brought together the whole world. Division of Child Support, it's tied into the welfare system and the garnishing system. They could yank your tax returns, all this other stuff. It's like it's everywhere. But if somebody's going to sue you for something and say that you owe it to them and you have a right to take their money, they should do it in court and have full hearings, and you have a chance for full discovery on this stuff. So the court accomplishes what Division of Child Support supposedly is supposed to be doing. So it's an utter waste. Get rid of that. And then, of course, you get rid of CPS. What does CPS do? Investigates abuse of children. Abuse of children is a crime. Why can't we go to criminal court and charge people with criminal child abuse and then turn around and prosecute somebody for that? Because they created a thing with CPS so that they could prove by preponderance evidence, or in some states it is clear, cogent and convincing evidence, that you're an abuser, so they restrict or terminate your parental rights through a civil proceeding. No due process. No jury of your peers, just one judge. Totally anti-due process. And then there's idiots out here pushing, they're going to push laws so that the new standard is clear, cogent, and convincing evidence. That whole scenario should not even exist. You shouldn't have your kids taken away unless you're an actual child abuser. Nobody should believe you're an actual child abuser until you go through due process and have a right to an attorney, a jury of your peers, because it's a crime to do that. But most people don't have any common sense, and they fight the system on the surface, or they talk about the system. Let's tweak this part, let's tweak this part. The entire system is totally unconstitutional. When people think that they're accomplishing something by saying, CPS is corrupt and they've lost kids and we need to clean it up. You don't need to clean it up. The whole system is set up to take kids away. So the whole system takes kids away without due process. And I saw a sign on the side of the road one time that said, hey, we need foster parents. They're so desperate for foster care parents, I guess, or it's such a ghetto, low-level Mickey Mouse operation to recruit foster parents that they could have signs on the side of the road like people do with a garage sale. Call this number to be a foster parent. Now, if you look at some of the bums who are foster parents, and some of them are child molesters, I had a dad who he had 4 kids, and both parents kept fighting, and both parents were kind of acting crazy, The dad had sent the kid, he would coach the kids to go and raise hell at the mother's home if the mom's boyfriend was there, because the mom's boyfriend would beat the kids. And so In any case, it got so chaotic that CPS got involved. They took the kids from school one day, and they broke 4 kids up into 4 different foster homes. And the dad told me one of the kids reported back to him that the house was filled with cockroaches and stuff like that. And it was dirty and nasty. So they're not even betting. So you could lose your kids because you're not a perfectly holy and righteous parent. With the foster care system, some random stranger can get your kid and will drop kick a kid into the foster care system. Will drop kick a kid into that with a total stranger who doesn't have to prove that they're a great parent. They just fill out an application and they haven't been caught with any crimes yet, I guess. That's another argument to make in court. When the court says, oh, you haven't seen your kids in a while. Or, I had a guy go into court and he used the argument that, we drop kids off at, like my kid was dropped off at school one day with total strangers. The judge said, oh, that's a ridiculous argument. That's not the same thing. And then the dad made that argument, then he moved on to the next thing. I would have jumped on her shit right there. You're saying that when my kid goes to school, that's not a total stranger? That's impossible. How can you lie in open court and pretend and see, these people are so possessed in their head, they think government is great with everything. So if they're going to school, we could trust the government and the teachers and the school system better than we could trust parents. That doesn't make any sense. It's so backwards. These people are lost in their mind. This kind of insanity proves to me that there's a spiritual war going on. Whether you believe it or not, it's obviously clear that there's an enemy to humankind in a realm beyond this world. Because when you walk into family court, it's a twilight zone. It's an entirely different world. Attorneys will walk out of court and say, I can't believe they did that to my client. I can't believe it. If the father would have done what the mother did, they would have crucified him. They talk about the bias all the time, but they wait until they get outside of court to talk about it when it doesn't count. That's why these attorneys are sissies. My baby's mom's attorney harassed my judge's bailiff one time. The next time we went to court, at the end of the hearing, he said, you need to respect my bailiff. He goes, what am I supposed to do about your rude bailiff? He said, well, you were rude to her and hung the phone up on her. He goes, I've been doing this 40 years. I don't have to put up with that crap. I just won't talk to your bailiff. And he yelled at the judge in open court and talked major shit to him. And you guys are scared. And then nothing happened to him. The judge said, okay, fine. Everybody just email the bailiff. And your attorney is a punk little sissy that won't stand up to the judge. And you won't tell the judge what the law says. I've seen this guy punk the judge in open court. Anyway. They should just do away with CPS and Division of Child Support. And I don't want to hear 5 million different comments on 5 million different ways the CPS and DCS is corrupt. I don't want to hear that. I'm not here to sit and whine, cry, piss them off. Since that's a topic of the day and what's going on, I'll comment on it. But I'm not here. I'm here to give people answers. I had a guy on YouTube when I did my video about pedos, and the guy said, well, dads do fight for their kids. It's just they're going against a corrupt bias system. And I was like, no ish, Sherlock. Thanks, Captain Obvious. And he's like, what are you so triggered for? I said, you're sitting here just whining and crying about the system. You're on a page where we have answers. Guys are not fighting for full custody. That's the real answer. And he goes, well, you're triggered and I'm just saying something. Your post is confusing. I said, dude, you're coming on my page whining about the system. We already know the system's bad. What are you going to do about it? How many people have you helped? I've helped thousands of people fix their problems. I don't need to sit around and talk about what's wrong with the system. The system isn't changing any time in our lifetime. What are you doing about it? And then he got sassy with me again, and then he didn't realize that the page that talks about how I got custody is talking about how to get custody. I guess I shouldn't get frustrated with it because, 90% of people are brainless sheep that just follow along and just say and do what everybody else says. But anyway, DCS, CPS.